What I want to talk about in this video is how to handle the imaginary audience in your head that is holding you back, okay? What I mean by that is how to avoid your social identity strangling you, right? How to develop massive amounts of social freedom that are not applicable to the average person because their identity keeps them boxed into a rigid reality that keeps them unhappy. Okay? Let me give you an example. The guy who works a job and gets married and has kids and all that, and the car payment in the house, and he's not happy, but he's doing all these things. He's doing everything to be socially acceptable. To really, at the end of the day, he's working in terms of avoiding pain instead of chasing pleasure. His whole life is to avoid the shame of being someone who is not socially acceptable, who does not follow the rules, who does not have a house with a white picket fence, does not have, a boring job, does not wear khaki pants, whatever it is, okay? Now that just does not apply to your average beta male married guy. I know that those guys get beat up on enough in the manosphere. That applies to the vast majority of guys. It applies to a manosphere guy who's living, always trying to be alpha or dark triad. It applies to women who are trying to pretend they are a good girl when in reality they are promiscuous. Okay, I'm use quotes on both of those. It applies to someone who is gay, who's pretending they're straight. It applies to everyone who is not living their truth because they are worried. They live through other people's eyes. They think, what would the neighbors think about me, right? What would XYZ person think about me at work? What would XYZ person in my family think about me if I did this or that? But even worse than living for society in person is the massively, massively detrimental thing that affects almost all of us on a massive level, which is living for the imaginary audience within your head, okay? So it's bad enough that people, center themselves and create these phony personas when they're around other people. But the worst part, and this is something you don't even realize, is you're doing it all the time in your own head. You are living all the time for this imaginary audience in your own head. And you are constantly thinking about what fucking people from high school would think about you, or imaginary scenarios of what so-and-so would think about you, or imaginary arguments with people that you haven't seen in 3 years about what I would have said to that motherfucker. You're replaying that argument, what I would have said to him again if I had that chance. Or you're worrying for 2 hours about what your parents would think about you if you hypothetically did X, or you're reliving a social faux pas or a social embarrassment, and you're running through your head for 2-3 hours before you realize what was going on, and letting it affect your self-esteem, all right? Or you're not letting yourself start a business or go talk to girls because you're worried about what Johnny fucking Jerkoff from high school would think. You think, this is also, subconscious, but man, I was a nerd in high school. What would fucking Johnny Jerkoff think if he knew I was out there picking up girls? That's way above my social station. I better, keep my head down so that I don't get made fun of, because I'm still running on patterns that I established when I was 15 and now I'm 30, okay? All this crazy shit going on where you let your social identity strangle you, you let the imaginary audience dictate how you're gonna live, okay? You live your life as if you're an actor in a movie, living for an imaginary audience that's always watching you. Okay, well, I have a newsflash for you, and it's gonna sound negative, but when you truly internalize this, it's the most fucking liberating thing in the world. That imaginary audience that you put so much time into running your movie for and acting for is not even in the theater watching you, because they don't care about you. Other people don't care about you because you don't matter. You don't matter to the world on a large scale, all right? It's harsh. It's harsh but true, okay? The only person you matter to is yourself and to a select group of people who really care about you. Your mom, your dad, and maybe a few close friends if you're lucky. Your happiness truly matters to those people. Everyone else does not matter, all right? Now, I'm not telling you that to deflate your life's purpose, okay? That is not the idea. Your life should matter to you very, very fucking much. And you should take pride in what you're doing, and you should take pride in, building some type of greatness. I sure do. And I certainly have the biggest ego out of anyone I know. But that's on the left hand. On the right hand, I also know that the vast majority of people do not give a fuck about me and are not thinking about me, all right? You might be listening to this right now and you might be enjoying a lot of my content, but if I died today, you wouldn't cry. You would go find someone else to listen to. You would go find another content provider. In fact, you already probably are listening to a couple different guys, not just me. The girls that I saw through my life, I mean, they might be sad, but they go find another guy. My acquaintance would be like, oh man, that's fucked up. Did you hear about Will? He got hit by a car. Oh yeah, man, that's fucked up. Probably wouldn't even cry though, okay? That's the truth. That's the fucking truth. Now, my life matters a lot to me, all right? I got 100,000 monthly visitors. I want to get that to 1 million. I want to touch as many lives as I can. I want to make my impact on the world as big as I can. But I also recognize that, 100 years from now, I'm not going to be in the history books. They're not going to be talking about Will Freeman, probably. At the end of the day, what I do does not really fucking matter to anyone except to me, all right? And that is the most liberating thing in the world, all right? Because I get to create, that frees me to get to do what I want.